Cruising over the age of 55 brings unexpected watch-outs that younger cruisers simply don't need to think about. I know because I've been there. I'm in my 60s, and since I turned 55, I've been on 100 cruises. And I'll admit, some of the things I discovered the hard way, as you'll hear. But these showed me where and how we should approach cruising differently to ensure everything goes smoothly. Welcome aboard, I'm Gary Bembridge, and I've got news about traps and opportunities you won't hear if you're listening to advice aimed at younger cruisers. Let's start with itineraries, because this is where I see many over 55s trip up. One of the joys of being older is we have more time or flexibility because we're not tied to school vacation and public holiday breaks. This more time means we can look at longer voyages and world cruise segments because they have more over 55s on them, and they explore less well-trodden parts of the world like South America, Asia, Australia, New Zealand and the South Pacific. It also means avoiding the busy cruise regions of the Caribbean, Mediterranean or Alaska, which tend to have more 7-night itineraries well suited for younger, more time-limited travellers. But if those three regions do appeal to you, then I recommend you avoid cruising in peak school vacation seasons, because not only is it cheaper, but it also means fewer crowds in the ports and the ships will be less full. For example, I found for us the Caribbean is best in November, early December, or January, February. The Mediterranean is best in June and October, and Alaska, May, early June, and late September. Also, when cruising these regions, look for itineraries longer than 7 nights because they tend to have more 55 plus travelers on them and less families. Repositioning cruises at the start and end of each region's cruising season are another perfect option for us, and you'll find many fellow age travelers on board. I'm a big fan of these and always have these in my plans. The most popular are transatlantics between Europe and the Caribbean, and transpacifics between Alaska and Japan. But you can also find them moving between the Mediterranean and Asia, and from Australia to Alaska via the South Pacific and Hawaii. They're usually fantastic value, and because they include plenty of sea days, around 5 or 6, they're actually more relaxing than port-intensive itineraries, which is important, I think, for us, because it leads me to another itinerary consideration as we age: stamina. As much as we don't like to admit it, an itinerary with a port every single day could start to be a bit wearing. So look at those which do have more sea days. Also, when looking at the detail of itineraries, look if there are tender ports and how many of them there are. They may be a bit more awkward, a bit more stressful getting on and off them, particularly if mobility starts to wane. Something many over 55s have told me is to now avoid itineraries at times of the year when it has extreme climates, especially heat, like the Mediterranean in July and August, which can be sweltering and definitely more draining for us. There is another itinerary suggestion I have, which is consider river cruising, especially in Europe, as they're more intimate, smaller ships with routes, excursions and sites that are designed with a more mature traveller in mind. Now, once you're clear on the itinerary, there's choosing the line to get right to. Most cruise lines today seem desperate to attract young travellers and families, even though the West actually has an aging population, so there's plenty and ever-increasing numbers of over 55s looking for great options. However, lines traditionally focused on our age group are definitely chasing families. For example, Holland America run kids travel free or discounted rates, and Princess new ships and programs are absolutely targeted more at the family market. So other than when looking for cruises, say for a multi-generational family trip, most over 55s, me included, are looking for kid-free cruise options. Our choices are narrowing. Adult-only lines are few and far between. Viking and Virgin Voyages are the only two mainstream global 18+ only cruise lines. UK cruises have the option of the over 50s Saga, an adult-only Ambassador cruise line, with P&O Cruises having 2 adult-only ships, Arcadia and Aurora, and Morella running 1 adult-only ship. Carnival has been testing out some adult-only gambling-focused cruises out of Florida, so that could be one to watch as well. The premium and luxury lines tend to be better suited to us overall because they have programs with more enrichment talks, wine tasting, cooking classes, live music, trivia, dance classes, and certainly way more kind of a program than resort-style attractions on Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, MSC cruises. But you can't assume those premium and luxury lines will be all adult as much as in the past, because premium lines like Holland America, Princess, Cunard and Celebrity are becoming more popular with families, especially in Alaska and the Mediterranean. But they still tend to have few families and kids outside of school holidays, even with active kids clubs running. Now, if your budget is larger, the luxury and ultra luxury lines do tend to attract even fewer families because most have no kids clubs or programs, so lines like Oceania, Windstar, Azamara, Seabourn, Silversea and Regent. But you need to be cautious in this category because the new Explorer Journeys is actively targeting younger travelers with year-round kids clubs, while Crystal's kids clubs are only open seasonally at peak school vacation times. Even choosing a line, which ship you choose within their fleet increasingly matters to us too. As many lines expand, the type of ship they're introducing into the fleet is changing, making some of their ships in the fleets better for us than others. Generally speaking, the older ships being a better match. For example, Celebrity. The new Edge-class ships are very different ships with different venues, dining arrangements, and even cabin types to their older, more classic Solstice and Millennium class ships. Cunard's Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth ships are again strikingly different to the newer Queen Anne. The older Princess ships with smaller ships are different to not only the Royal class ships like Sky and Majestic Princess, but very different to the more mega-style ship Sphere class Sun and Star Princess. Generally, I find the smaller ships in the fleets are easy to navigate, more classic, and often tend to be a better match. If you do though want to have a truly big ship, more resort-style cruising experience, then consider the ship within a ship on those ships like Norwegian's The Haven, MSC's Yacht Club, Royal Caribbean's Star Class, or Celebrity's The Retreat. Particularly if you're in peak vacation times, they won't be guaranteed adult only, but they will offer a calmer space to step out of those bustling, boisterous, big ship experiences. Now let me talk about cabins, something where younger travelers are often keen to choose a lower cost, guaranteed fare that just ensures a grade, but not a specific cabin nor where it is. Maybe it's just me, but I've found that as I get older, I have got fussier about my cabin and where it is located. I want to ensure I'm not going to be affected by noisy late night venues like nightclubs, live music venues or theatres, because I'm less likely to be in those venues partying these days, but in my cabin trying to relax or sleep. I don't want to hear pool deck chairs being scraped as people move them about when I'm perhaps relaxing in my cabin during the day or having a lie-in. I do spend more time enjoying and relaxing in my cabin than when I was younger. That's why I recommend you book a fare and choose your cabin, following my be surrounded on all sides by other cabins rule, and check the deck plans to ensure that you're not near potential issue venues. But also these days, I find many over 55s also say that the following is important to them too. Where mobility becomes an issue, a cabin closer to elevators are better, and certainly more midships is going to reduce the walking distance between dining rooms and venues if you're kind of in the center of things. And of course, paying more attention to the bathroom setup could become important, so you avoid cabins with showers which are in bathtubs in favor of those with walk-in showers instead. If accessibility and mobility is or becoming an issue, it's important to check the line rules. Most require a wheelchair or scooter to be stored in the cabin, and so it must be of a size to fit through the cabin door. Many also require users to book an accessible cabin, or at a minimum let them know and get approval if you're using a wheelchair or scooter in advance. Different mobility equipment, oxygen and mobility aids can be hired through specialist providers that partner with the lines, and they can be delivered directly to your cabin. So check with the line who their partners are. Now, having got some of these cruise basic rights, there are ways us over 55s can pay less than younger cruisers for the same cruise and cabin. Here's how. But first, to watch out as you look for those fares and deals. Unfortunately, scams targeting older travelers are on the rise, especially on social media sites like Facebook. Also, scammers are buying ads that look like actual cruise line ones, and they show up on Google search. Now, all of these require phoning to get deals, but they will connect you to a scammer. So be vigilant about where and who you book with, and always check the phone number if you're calling. I've suggested trusted cruise expert travel agents in several countries in an article on my blog at tipsfortravellers.com/agents if you need some help there. There's also a silver lining for us. Senior discounts are offered by several lines. Celebrity, Royal Caribbean and Carnival offer discounts for travellers over 55 and MSC Cruises for over 65s on certain sailings. In the United States, if you become an AARP member, American Association of Retired Persons, they offer discounts and added perks, not just on cruises, but also on hotels, flights, and even excursions that you may want to use for your cruise too. Of course, cruise loyalty programs could work too, because many of us cruise more often. Choosing one or two lines and sticking with them could unlock major perks over time. And here's another tip on fares. Book your next cruise while you're still on board. The deals and bonuses are usually much better than anything you'll find on land. Another thing to consider, which can be attractive price-wise, is consider going on a group or escorted cruise. Many travel agents of all sizes will create cruise packages that may include hotels and transfers, but will have discounted fares and added onboard perks. Many will have a host from the agency along to assist, which could be a plus as we age. Now, even some independent travel agents offer them. For example, Walter Biscardi of Where's Walter Travel, one of the agents I recommend in the United States, runs frequent hosted groups with great deals. First, port excursions are another area where being realistic about our limits pays off. It's tempting to book that must-see excursion without properly checking how demanding it is actually going to be. I've seen too many people caught out by long walking tours over uneven cobblestones, excursions that involve steep climbs in hot, humid weather, and on a recent cruise in French Polynesia where most people on an e-bike excursion struggled because it involved steep hills, off-road terrain, and many had to withdraw partway through because they hadn't really thought about their ability to do it. Always read the descriptions the cruise line has in the notes of the tour carefully, or ask the Shore Excursions team if you're slightest bit unsure. The tour description, small print, will include fitness levels, distances, type of ground, number of stairs, and so on. I've been on way too many excursions where I've seen people simply cannot cope. One thing to consider is to sidestep cruise line excursions and find alternative small group or private tours where you can go at your own pace and the guide can easily adjust to any of your needs along the way. And they don't have to be costly because sites like toursbylocals.com list local guides often at very affordable rates. Of course, also look at companies like Shore Excursions Group, Venture Shore and Viator because they will also list options too. And remember, you don't have to do something in every port. Pacing yourself is better than overdoing it, and mixing up some tours with more casual self-exploring could make all the difference. Packing also changes as we get older, and here's a few important things to note. First, I recommend packing as light as possible and consider using the laundry more. Lighter means not having to lug suitcases and baggage around the airport, cruise terminals, and so on. It will be much more pleasant. But if you do want to bring more luggage, do what I do and book transfers and hotel arrangements with the cruise line. When I do this, it means my bags are handled for me. They take them from the airport to the hotel. Usually I can leave them outside my hotel room. They collect them, load them onto the transfer bus to go to the port, and so on. It does make it so much easier. A few other packing things that apply more to us these days. Medications are critical for many of us. Ships don't have pharmacies to fill out prescriptions, so bring more than enough of what you need. I always bring actually several weeks more than the cruise. Keep it in your hand luggage, and I like to bring it in the original packaging with a photo of my prescription just in case. I always bring a personalized first aid kit. I see that as a must because it means avoiding going to the costly medical center, kind of for more mundane issues that kit could deal with. Don't forget technology. Cruise lines now run so much through their apps, and so having your phone or tablet ready to use with the cruise line app already loaded will make your life so much easier. The app always runs without having to buy a Wi-Fi package, but so much is done in the app, you really do need to be ready for that. This next one is a really important point. You need to make sure things go right even when they go wrong. Travel insurance is non-negotiable, but it must be the right kind. Make sure your policy covers pre-existing conditions and includes medical evacuation off the ship and repatriation home. The reality is, as we get older, the chance of needing medical help statistically goes up, and evacuation costs can be eye-watering. So make sure you've got the right insurance, not necessarily just rely on, say, credit card insurance. I mentioned that repositioning cruises were a great option for us over 55 travelers. So join me over in this video where I look at the pros, the cons, and tricks to find and have amazing repositioning cruises. See you over there.